Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daren. I'm an account development manager at Education Support. Over the next 20 minutes or so, we're just going to speak to you about dealing with emotional demands of working in education and how an EAP can help. But before we begin, I just wanted to say thank you for joining us and taking some time out of your busy schedules. We'll get started in a moment. Before we do, I just need to cover off some essential webinar administration. So we are recording the webinar today, so we can share those with who are unable to attend. The Q&A is open, so please drop any questions you have in there, and we will look to answer them at the end. Finally, we don't have an fire alarm test schedule, so you see any of my colleagues heading out of the office door, you know it's not a drill. So for those of you hearing about Education Support for the first time, may I just say hello and welcome. It's great to have you with us. And for those of you who already know about us, it's great to have you back. I'm going to pass you over to my colleague Gwen, who will introduce herself.
Amazing, thank you, Daren. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Gwen. I am the business development representative at Education Support. Every day, very briefly, a bit about me and my role. I spend my day speaking to schools across the country who have an interest in learning how we can support with their staff. First of all, we're going to start off with a bit of backstory about who we are at Education Support. For those who don't know, we are the only UK charity dedicated and with the mission to improve the health and well-being of the entire education workforce. So we understand education and have been supporting staff within education for almost 150 years now. We currently support over 100,000 members of education staff, and we support across around 1,300 schools across the country. So a little bit about how we work on an organisation basis. We advocate for change at 3 different levels. So at a system level, we push for change with a systematic approach. We do this by advocating for teachers, education staff to encourage policy decisions that work with their well-being in mind. Then at a workplace level, we push for change at the workplace by working with leaders, governors, anyone running the education institution to help create cultures that care, cultures where mental health and well-being are a priority for all members of staff. And that's where we believe our employee assistance program can help. And finally, with individuals, we support individual members of the workforce every day. Teachers and education staff are working really hard as part of the system. Whilst we believe that the system definitely needs to do better for them, we also know that there are several support mechanisms and skills that we may be able to help with to help manage their stress and hopefully make their day a little bit easier, perhaps even enjoyable. Through our EAP, which you'll hear us reference Employee Assistance Programme as EAP, we want to provide your staff with the support in the here and now, because the system and cultural change is a little bit more gradual.
Okay, so just to expand slightly on what Gwen has said on the previous slide about working at system level and advocacy, we do lobby government and other educational organisations and interested parties, and what we do there is help to try and shape policy, and that's based on our research. So I will be talking about a couple of reports as we go through this presentation, mainly being the Teaching the New Reality report, and also a little bit perhaps about the Commission on retention. There will be a link showing later on, which you can click on, and it will take you through to where these reports are actually accessed. We use the information we find from those reports, as I say, to help brief policy. So if you look at this slide there, you can see some fairly high-level figures there. I won't read them out loud. I'm sure you're perfectly capable of reading those yourself. But the key here is that you can see that staff are struggling to cope. What we have found from our Teaching the New Reality report is that post-COVID, many staff are called upon to provide a more pastoral support to students. So activities, pressures, demands which are outside the scope of traditional teaching responsibilities, and often staff do not feel prepared to be able to manage these situations. So the impact that these challenges are having on individuals is quite significant. So again, you can see a consistent mark across the board here of over 70%. So teachers have less to give mentally, and then students are suffering because they are not getting the best teaching experience. Essentially, stress out staff result in stress out students. Gwen will now look at how an EAP can help resolve these situations.
Absolutely. So we're going to look at how we can kind of discuss how we can provide a solution to these challenges that Daren has just gone through, particularly how our employee assistance programme can be used to solve and support staff with the growth of expectation we're currently seeing. So first of all, seeking help. Last year, 59% of staff said that they were not confident disclosing unmanageable stress or mental health issues they may be facing to their employer. That is perhaps not a surprise to many of us. It is, first of all, scary talking about mental health issues, and secondly, even more scary, sharing these with your employer. However, staff who feel like they have a good and strong organisational support system feel more confident in being able to disclose their stress and any mental health problems they may be suffering with. To help support with this, our employee assistance programme allows you to access support completely confidential and impartial from the school environment, whilst also maintaining that unique understanding that you may get from speaking to a colleague in the school, with our counsellors being education specialists. Being proactive. With educators working over 48 hours per week, this does not leave any time for any sort of self-care. Staff may be exhausted or simply need spare time to do life admin bits. Making time for wellbeing and proactively managing mental health is an important step in developing the tools needed to manage unpredictable circumstances and help increase resilience. To try and support with that, our employee assistance programme is available, as you can see, 24/7, 365 days a year. Whether it's in the middle of the night, someone may be worried about going into school the next day, they can access support at any time and arrange long-term support through some of the options on the slide. And finally, emotional and practical. There are a wide range of things that can affect our well-being, from financial concerns to physical and mental health concerns as well. 36% of staff have experienced a mental health issue in the last academic year. Addressing any problems or obstacles early, no matter how big or small they may be, can be hugely beneficial in the long term. To help support with this, our employee assistance programme is wide-ranging to reflect the massive range of challenges people are facing day to day, whether that be, as they're listed on the screen, personal, work-related, financial, legal, and so on.
Okay, thanks, Gwen. So what is an EAP? An EAP effectively is there to support staff with any challenges or issues that they are facing. It can support in a number of ways. The main presenting kind of issues we see that we can assist with is helping staff to support their own mental health and managing their levels of stress and anxiety, to help them cope with change, and to help them when they are managing challenging situations within the school environment. So organisations themselves can benefit from improved staff retention and reduced sickness absence. We'll talk a little bit more about these two elements further on in this presentation. But they're also benefit from having improved staff performance efficiency. So educators, teachers, classroom staff, people with strong mental health and wellbeing, resilience and support systems are generally more effective. They're more able to manage their stress. They're less likely to go on sick leave, and being just more capable to be able to provide a higher level of consistent performance and therefore have a positive impact on the teaching experience. With the resources that we have available, all in effectively one place, it does help to enhance management capacity in that line managers are trying their hardest to try and support their staff. They're not experts. They haven't got the time to go into deep research or to be able to find resources. All they would need to do is just point staff in the direction of the employee assistance program where they would be able to speak to subject matter specialists and also to education focused counsellors. Our EAP Plus service is our flagship offering. It is a service that provides resources that can be accessed to counterbalance the reactive nature of an EAP. So it provides tools to organisations, to senior leaders, to individual staff, to help them to safeguard and strengthen their own mental health well-being. And this is provided through our EAP Plus portal. We provide resources and targeted content written by education specialists. By targeted content, it means we have resources that are available and targeted at specific areas or groups within a school, whether that be senior leadership, for example, teaching staff, or anyone involved in an educational organisation. And that offering is updated on a half-termly basis. So there's always new, relevant and pertinent information and support available to you. So the EAP itself, as you can see from this slide, it has many and varied resources that are available. Obviously, the key element would be the unlimited access into telephone counselling and fast-track referral into face-to-face or structured counselling with education-focused counsellors. However, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about a couple of elements of the service that you might not necessarily associate with a EAP service. So we've mentioned a couple of times about helping managers to manage capacity and to provide support. So we do provide a service that's called Manager Assist. Now, Manager Assist provides support for anyone really who has to manage a difficult situation, perhaps. Generally, it's for people who have direct line responsibility, but you might have to have a very difficult or sensitive conversation with a direct line report. It might be anything from the lines of someone who's previously been very outgoing and now very sullen and withdrawn. You've got your concerns. You've noticed there's been a real drop-off in their level of performance. You're very concerned. You have suspicions perhaps of what the underlying cause might well be. Call through to Manager Assist. You'll be able to talk to a case handler. You will explain what the scenario is, and they will then be able to give you some practical support, hints, tips and guidance of how you would be able to structure that conversation, types of language to use, environment, tone, setting, for example. Are there resources in the EAP itself that will help you as a line manager to resolve that issue? Or are there resources there that's available that will help that individual themselves to manage their own personal issues? That's just one example. You can then rehearse that conversation so you feel much better prepared to have it in the real world. However, it's also there basically for anything that the day-to-day managerial responsibilities throw up at you. So it could be managing long-term absence, managing performance, how to manage a return to work interview, those sorts of practical support issues as well. Now, we also have a mindfulness program, which is called Aware. Aware is effectively our stress reduction coaching program. It is available via the EAP. So what we provide there then is providing individuals the support and the opportunity to learn the practice of being mindful as a means to engage in the present moment, so to focus attention and to remain focused. It's a complement to traditional counselling. The program itself utilises a blended delivery, so it's a combination of 6 online modules complemented with weekly telephone sessions with a wellbeing specialist to be able to help you to support yourself to become more mentally resilient and to reduce your stress and anxiety. I did say earlier about supporting staff or staff retention. As you can see, this is quite a powerful quote from Lisa, a special needs teacher. So, as you'd expect, working in education is a vocation, and as such, it does attract a high number of perfectionists and staff with a strong vocational pool, and that can lead to a poor work-life balance. Everything you do matters. Every interaction you have, whether it's with a student or a colleague or with a parent or whoever, has an impact. Now, you're never expected to have an off day. You're always meant to be on top of the game and have that same level of high performance. It's expected throughout the week, throughout the academic year. However, what we do find is that staff are considering leaving education in large numbers. So we know from our teacher wellbeing index that approximately 59% of staff have considered leaving education in the last academic year due to mental health pressures. 55% of staff have actually sought to leave their job, and we know that 68% of staff have cited volume of work as the main reason for leaving education. By providing the tools to help individuals to be mentally strong and resilient, you are helping them to reduce their absence and the additional costs that would involve to schools directly. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. So we've mentioned that workload is one of the root causes, along with pressure and managing stress and anxiety. The list goes on. So giving staff access to support through the right channels from qualified counsellors, those who are well grounded in and understand education, and expert advisors. Often, as I say, when senior leaders may feel unqualified to be able to support. So we know robust mental health and resilience does make for more effective teachers, which improves the experience or the learning experience for their students. It also results in less absence due to mental health issues. It will help your school to reduce its direct costs, thereby, obviously, we're talking about reducing direct pay or sick pay, the cost of having to provide cover teachers. If you're moving teachers from other classes to cover sessions, and obviously that's putting them under increased stress, which again could lead to their reduction in morale, burnout, for example. And also, if you're just looking at the costs of actually replacing staff as and when they leave, you can see that providing effective support really is a cost-effective solution. So we've come towards the end of the presentation now, so we're happy to take any questions that you might have. So if you can pop those in to the Q&A, we'll endeavour to answer those questions for you. If you do look in the Q&A, you can see the link there where you can download reports. Okay. Happy to take any questions or to elaborate on anything that I may not, or Gwen and I might not have gotten into sufficient detail. You just want a little bit more information regarding how we can assist.
Well, we've got a question from Mark. With all the budget costs schools have, why would they spend money on an EAP?
Okay, that's an excellent question.
Brilliant question.
Essentially, I think it comes back to a couple of points here. I mean, firstly, it's the right thing to do to be able to provide support to staff so that they are able to self-refer and get the appropriate support, whether that be counselling or referrals into more practical resources in a timely manner, protects their confidentiality, so they're more likely to seek support at an earlier stage. What we're looking to do there is to help prevention rather than the cure. In other words, give them the support that they require before it escalates into a critical situation where someone is going to have time off. Certainly mental health and well-being would generally be one or two in the top two of the main issues for absence within an organisation. By helping to reduce that, that's obviously going to reduce your cost. I've alluded to it in the presentation itself. So you've got those direct costs where it comes to paying for staff sick pay, paying for temporary cover, looking at retention, what it will cost to actually recruit someone into a position where a member of staff has had to leave because they're feeling, for example, stressed or anxious. Providing an EAP as well also shows a duty of care, and it makes staff within schools feel valued, knowing that they have a valuable resource that's available for them that they can access as and when they require it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also makes you, as a school, quite a favourable employer, I would say, as well, that is your duty, and you've taken that responsibility on. I think we've got another question. From Graham, how often do you work with SEND specific settings, i.e. schools with children with complex needs?
Okay, again, we generally find about 10% of the staff that we covered. Now, when referred to, 10% of the schools that we cover are special educational needs settings. Clearly, it's a very, very stressful environment that people find themselves working there. It's got a lot of challenges and a lot of issues. So they are quite a significant part of our existing client base, and we are able to provide a support to assist them.
Perfect. And final question, I think. Anne has asked, why choose the education support EAP rather than other EAPs available? I think we provide a very unique stance within our employee assistance program, with it being education focused, with the only education focused employee assistance program out there. So we can provide, as I kind of mentioned earlier, not only the access to all of the things that Daren has run through, but with our support being specific to the sector, our counsellors are able to relate, understand the dialogue and understand the demands. Working in education is very different to your 9-to-5 elsewhere. So having someone on the phone or in counselling, whatever it may be, that can relate, understand and help you is super important. And I think that's a really unique thing that we're able to offer with our EAP.
Just to add to Gwen there as well, she did say at the beginning of the presentation that we are a charity and its mission is to support anyone working in education in any job role at any level at any stage of their career. So when we partner with schools, we actively promote the EAP because we want staff and colleagues to use the service. So we will always provide a EAP launch presentation where we will talk to staff and say, look, this is a service that's purchased on your behalf by your organisation. It's there to support your mental health and wellbeing. None of the resources that you have access to will cost you personally, so it's free for you as the end user to actually use these services. It's self-referral, so you protect your confidentiality. You don't have to go to occupational health, HR, or your line manager to have sign off to use these resources. Just simply pick up the telephone and call us. So you will receive support in a very, very timely manner. We'll talk about the various elements that's included and how that will benefit the individual and how you access those resources. Now, as I said, that's because we are determined to drive up the utilisation rate, make it a powerful tool for staff. You might find that more commercial generalist organisations may not quite be keen to actually be able to support you in that way. We will also provide management information to you on a termly basis. Again, it's anonymised and aggregated data, but you will have a clear understanding of how that EAP is being used. You'll be able to identify if there are any areas of concern that might require some further intervention or some remedial action. That's correct. So the Employee Assistance Programme, Graham, is a service schools purchase to support their staff, and that provides a very comprehensive service. So we mentioned about the counselling elements of it. We offer 6 sessions of face-to-face counselling, for example, for a presenting issue, the access to all those resources that are available also. Okay, so that is a paid-for service. When an individual calls through to access the EAP, they will be asked for the name of their school. That's to check it's an active EAP client. Okay, and then they're asked to provide their consent to proceed, and then they will have access to a telephone counsellor directly there and then. They won't have to leave a message and wait for a call back. If it's 3 a.m. and you are stressed and emotional and you really want to talk to someone, clearly you don't want to leave a message on an answer phone. You want to get assistance immediately.
Amazing. I think we've got one more question, Daren, in the Q&A box from Catherine.
That's where. I can't see it, so you can read it out.
Oh, sorry. Yes, the question is, Catherine is a post-16 experienced leader looking for opportunities to provide support to colleagues as a consultant supervisor from October, as she is leaving her current role. How would I find out about working with your organisation?
Okay, very, very good question. We will on this presentation does have our contact details. I'd be perfectly very, very happy for you to contact me directly, and I'll be able to talk you through how we can support you.
I will transfer us.
The alternative, or what you can also do as well, is go onto our website, and it will say on there support for you. Click on that. It will provide the details. A web form you'll just simply complete, and then we'll be able to contact you that way. I mentioned the website. I would certainly take a look at that in general, because there are lots of resources that are available there as part of our mission to support anyone working in education. So resources that you can share. There are lots of videos, fact sheets, blogs, life guides, etc. that you can tap into as well. There are audit tools for individuals, audit tools for organisations. So in the Q&A there, you can see the web address. But I'll certainly say take a look at that. There's also a stay in touch function on there. So if you click on that, you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter. Again, that's full of really useful, relevant, education focused support. So it's very, very helpful to anyone who just really wants some assistance. Graham, we do have, that's correct, the referral into face-to-face counselling and the access to practical resources is for EAP clients only. We do have a helpline which is provided by the charity. It is simply a one-off telephone conversation into a counsellor. So it's there to help an individual to resolve a particular incident or situation. It doesn't go into any further support other than a one-off telephone call.
It can be confusing, but yes, we have the free helpline, and then if you were to sign up for an EAP, you would have done by a different number. But the free helpline is available for anyone working in education, as Daren mentioned. Amazing. I think that's it for questions. Our details should be on the screen. So if anyone has any questions after or wants to get in touch, please do. Thank you again, everyone, for joining Daren and I this afternoon. It's been great. And yes, this will be recorded. So if anyone would like a copy, do let us know. But
if there are any questions or queries, or you just want a quick conversation, please do contact us.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thanks for your time. Goodbye.
Take care, everyone.